mind, but the news was just announced that WNBA TV ratings are down more than 50% since Caitlin Clark's injury, and it was also reported that the Indiana Fever television viewership is also down over 53%. Now, I know a lot of us were expecting some sort of dip since Caitlin Clark has been out with injury, but I don't think all of us were expecting the entire viewership of the entire WNBA.
Is there any chance that the WNBA, that Kathy Engelbert saw some of the ratings that I'm about to show you now and said, hey, Indiana Fever, can you do us a favor? Can you do us a solid? Can you just tease a Caitlin Clark return, kind of boost these up a little bit?
The WNBA just found out the hard way that life without Caitlin Clark is like Netflix without Wi-Fi. Completely unwatchable and an absolute train wreck. Playoff ratings are crashing faster than your phone battery stuck on 1% at 2 a.m., and now the league is scrambling to keep fans from dozing off. Did viewers really disappear into thin air, or did they just switch over to pickleball highlights instead? Either way, this playoff fiasco is shaping up to be juicier than a reality TV reunion.
Can you just dangle a Caitlin Clark return in front of the fans' faces, try to boost these ratings up a little bit? There was one matchup that this league could consistently rely on to produce massive viewership numbers.
The WNBA hyped this season as the moment, the breakout year, the breakthrough, the time the league would finally step out of the shadows and prove it could run with the big dogs. Instead, it looks like the league tripped over its own shoelaces, face planted into a bucket of nacho cheese, and is now trying to play it off like that was the plan all along.
A shocker. Imagine my surprise. Just imagine my surprise when Uncle KC found out that the WNBA is struggling to maintain their ratings without Caitlin Clark. To make matters worse, and this is something I have definitely noticed in the last 3 or 4 weeks, especially since the All-Star game, the WNBA seems to be struggling to maintain interest.
Let's be real. This WNBA season has been a spectacular, chaotic dumpster fire. If you tuned in for the basketball, you got hit with a wave of injuries, foul calls that looked like they were made by refs squinting through cracked glasses, and a commissioner who treats player health like it's optional. If you came for the entertainment, you probably checked out the second Caitlin Clark spent more time glued to the bench than on the floor, thanks to defenders treating her ankles like crash test material.
Caitlin Clark, the operative word that comes to my mind is gratitude. There's an incredible level of gratitude that should be accorded to this young lady with what she did for the sport.
How was the attendance for Team USA in the Olympics? What would it have been like if Caitlin Clark was playing on that team? Remember the first game? Look at this right here. National broadcast viewership. What are we talking about here? 1,000, what is that? 1.219? Is that the number? And the game afterwards got 485,000. So the Fever in their game against the Minnesota Lynx was 1.219 million.
You know the season's in trouble when the biggest drama isn't on the court, but fans wondering if the league will collapse before the playoffs even wrap up. Spoiler, it's barely holding together with a flimsy strip of duct tape labeled, "Please don't notice how bad this is."
NBA's black superstars should thank their lucky stars for the record ratings Caitlin Clark is detonating, even if new fans are mostly white fans. It doesn't matter what color eyeballs are. But the other day, I must admit, it hit me like Katie Bell Henderson telling me that's enough. I told myself it's not racist for me to like.
And speaking of bad, let's talk officiating. This season's refs look like they were recruited straight out of a mall food court on their lunch break. One's still chewing a slice of Sparrow while deciding if it's a flagrant. Another looks like they thought they were signed up to officiate roller derby.
The WNBA has a problem. And that problem is Caitlin Clark not playing in WNBA games. Now, what all does this affect? The ratings are plummeting. Guys, there's ratings for a couple of these games that are eye-popping.
Consistency. Somewhere between a magic 8-ball and a fortune cookie. One game, a full-on shove is nothing. The next, someone sneezes too hard and they're ejected. If refs had their own stat line this year, it would be simple. Turnovers, 0. Bad calls, every single possession.
Not a trend that the WNBA is excited about. That's a trend that Kathy Engelbert would say, hey, Fever, hey, Lynn Dunn, hey, Kelly, hey, Amber, can you guys start dangling that Caitlin Clark return like you used to do? You know, before Caitlin Clark gave a statement and you guys were hands off? Can you guys, just string them along a little bit more? We want to get these ratings back up. We want to get these numbers.
Indiana, against the Chicago Sky, right after that game, they opened an investigation once again into the fans, where they found nothing, but the damage had already been done at that point. If some of these things happen just one time here and there, or there's one certain media personality who's just always saying these kind of things, then whatever. I feel like fans as a whole can be like, okay, whatever, this person is just a hater. But this is something that has happened over and over and over again, and over time, it starts chipping away at how much you're going to actually care and want to support an organization if they continue to do things.
Now let's talk injuries, because at this point, the WNBA looks less like a professional basketball league and more like an orthopedic surgeon's holiday shopping spree. Caitlin Clark has spent almost as much time rehabbing as she has actually playing, mostly because defenders treat her like she owes them rent money. Every drive to the basket looks like a new episode of How Hard Can We Smash Caitlin Before the Ref Notices.
Clark thing, man. I mean, it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing what you guys have done. And then people are catching on to your tactics. You got the people on Twitter catching on to your tactics. Like, look at this right here. Look at this right here. They said ESPN didn't want to show the ratings were down from WNBA All-Star Game because Caitlin Clark.
And the answer? A lot harder than you'd think. But Clark isn't the only casualty in this basketball apocalypse. You could practically hear the commissioner's office sigh with relief every time a star goes down. Oh good, one less headache to manage. Sophie wasn't enough. Then Angel Reese decided, you know what? I'm out. She quit mid-season. In most sports, that would be shocking. In the WNBA, it just feels like commentary on the league itself. Because honestly, if the commissioner can't keep the league running smoothly, if refs are out there auditioning for clown school, and if players are dropping like flies on a July afternoon, why wouldn't someone just bail? Reese probably figured she'd rather cash in on Instagram than risk another game where she gets tackled like she's trying out for the NFL. And that's the trend the WNBA doesn't want to admit. Instead of fixing it, Cathy Engelbert and company seem more interested in dangling Caitlin Clark's possible return like bait, just enough to string fans along and squeeze out another ratings boost. The problem is, none of this exists in a vacuum. The WNBA has been begging for years to be taken seriously, to step into the spotlight, to be more than an afterthought. But the league itself isn't doing itself any favors. The commissioner treats player safety like an optional suggestion, as if enforcing it would somehow ruin the fun. Rules? Protecting stars? Apparently, that's just too radical for the WNBA. And yet, people were tuning in, at least at first. The pre-Clark injury days felt golden. ESPN suddenly acted like it cared. Highlights actually made SportsCenter, and Twitter users pretended they'd known what a pick and roll was their whole lives. But the moment Clark went down, ratings nosedived faster than Angel Reese's desire to finish a season. Turns out, if your entire marketing plan revolves around one player, and your officiating plan is, let her get punched in the face, things fall apart real quick. Some fans might argue this is just a rough patch. Injuries happen, fouls are part of the game. But let's be real, this isn't bad luck. It's bad leadership. The commissioner has been sitting back like a substitute teacher who's already lost the class. Instead of fixing the problems, the league doubled down on ignoring them. Stars dropping out. It's fine. Refs making games unwatchable. Don't worry, the fans will stay. Spoiler, they didn't. Take Indiana versus Chicago, for example. After that game, the league opened yet another investigation into the fans. Once again, nothing came of it. But the damage was done. One bad incident is whatever. One loud critic. Fine. But when the same issues pile up over and over, it chips away at fans' trust until there's almost nothing left. And the players who are still standing, they're being shoved into games that look less like professional basketball and more like a mashup of rugby and WWE. Half the time you're not sure if you're watching the WNBA playoffs or SummerSlam. You're just waiting for someone to pull out a steel chair. Meanwhile, the commissioner is still doing interviews, smiling, and talking about how the league keeps saying it's growing and building momentum. Sure, and I'm growing taller every time I put on high heels. Calling this season growth is like calling a house fire a bold new lighting design. It's delusional. These women are out there giving everything, but the system around them is collapsing. They don't deserve refs who blow whistles like they're working a toddler's birthday party. They don't deserve leadership that treats player health like an optional side quest. And they don't deserve a league that markets them only when it's convenient, then abandons them the second things get messy. Yet here we are, this WNBA season limping to the finish line. Ratings in freefall, stars sidelined, and fans openly wondering if the league can survive another year like this. If this was supposed to be the season of growth, then congratulations, it grew into the biggest mess imaginable. The Caitlin Clark situation alone is flat out embarrassing. People are catching on. Twitter's catching on. Look at the chatter. Fans are saying ESPN hid the fact that All-Star ratings tanked without Clark. And they're right. Maybe next year, the commissioner will finally take player safety seriously. Maybe referees will actually learn what a foul looks like. Maybe stars like Caitlin Clark will get through a season without being body slammed into early retirement. But until then, the WNBA teeters on the brink. Not because fans don't care, because leadership doesn't. This was supposed to be the year of sold-out arenas and endless ticket sales. Fans lining up like it was the launch of a new iPhone. Instead, empty seats echo louder than the refs' whistles. Popcorn vendors look like they're sighing into the void, begging someone, anyone, to buy a hot dog. Ticket sales resemble the clearance rack of a failing department store. We're expanding the fan base, they say, while fans are expanding their Netflix queues instead of watching games. The reality is, without Clark pulling viewers, without Sophie Cunningham on the floor, and without Reese stirring up drama, WNBA ticket sales collapsed faster than a Jenga tower in an earthquake. The funniest part? The league keeps trying to spin it. Social media posts roll out like everything's fine, another exciting night of WNBA action. Meanwhile, the comments are filled with fans asking, exciting where? Which game? In another dimension. The replies are nothing but memes of tumbleweeds rolling through empty arenas.